There's the audience. And a dog. And a sleeping cat.
Hello everyone, my name is Kasha Wilson, and today I would like to talk to you about the hidden epidemic of child and psychological and emotional abuse. Did you know that the United States has the worst record in the industrialized nation for child abuse? No. According to the website for National Child Abuse, statistics show that every year 3.3 million reports of child abuse are made in the U.S., involving nearly 6 million children and about 5 children lost a day as a result of abuse-related deaths. As you can see in this chart, it shows how great an epidemic child abuse is becoming here in the United States because the numbers are increasing. There are many different types of child abuse. As you can see in this next chart, the two types of child abuse that are most commonly heard about is physical and sexual abuse. We may hear this more because of the shocking results that it leaves, but child abuse is more than broken bones and bruises. A common myth we hear a lot is it's only abuse if it's violent. This myth is false because physical abuse is just one type of child abuse. Ignoring children's needs, leaving them unsupervised in dangerous situations, or making a child feel worthless or stupid is also considered child abuse. Neglect and emotional abuse can be just as damaging, and since they are more subtle, it's less likely for other people to intervene. If you look back up at this chart, you can see that neglect and psychological maltreatment makes up 86% of child abuse here in the United States. And regardless of the type of child abuse, it always results in emotional harm. First of all, I would like to explain to you what exactly psychological abuse is. According to America's Mental Health Channel, psychological abuse can be divided into 9 categories. The first one is rejection. Rejection is to reject a child, to push him or her away, to make him feel that he is useless or worthless, to undermine his values or his feelings, to refuse help or refuse to help him. The next one is scorn, which is when you demean your child, ridicule him, humiliate him, to cause him to be ashamed, to criticize him, or to insult him. The next one is terrorism. That's when you threaten your child or someone that is dear to him with physical violence, abandonment, or death, to threaten to destroy the child's possessions, to place him in chaotic or dangerous situations, to define strict and unreasonable expectations, and to threaten him with punishment if he does not comply. Next one is isolation, which is when you physically and socially isolate a child, leave him or her alone at home, or just limit his opportunities to socialize with others, his peers, his friends, or anyone. Next one is isolation. That's when you physically or socially corruption. Sorry. It's just to tolerate or encourage your child to do inappropriate or deviant behavior, or to expose the child to antisocial role models, to consider the child as a servant, or to encourage him or coerce him to participate in sexual activities. Next one is the absence of emotional response. To show oneself as inattentive or indifferent towards the child, to ignore his emotional needs, to avoid visual contact, kisses, or verbal communication with him, or to never congratulate him. The next one is neglect. That is to ignore the health or educational needs of the child, to refuse or to neglect to apply the required treatment. The next one is exposure to domestic violence. To expose a child to violent words and acts between his parents, the behavior of an emotionally abusive parent or caregiver does not support a child's healthy development and well-being. Instead, it creates an environment of fear, hostility, and anxiety. A child is sensitive to the feelings and opinions and actions of his or her parents. Emotionally harmful attitudes may include the following: Like, it may cause them to feel like their parents, like if their parents are going through a divorce or something and they're just always arguing, may make them feel depressed all the time, and because nobody wants to see that, I guess. Nobody wants to feel like their parents won't, like they're losing their parents maybe, or they're forced to choose either to go with their mom or their dad. That might have an effect on them too. Next one is showing a lack of regard for the child. This behavior often includes rejecting the child by not showing affection, ignoring the child's presence and obvious needs, ignoring the child when he or she is in need of comfort, and not calling the child by his or her name. Lastly, saying unkind things to the child. Emotionally abusive parents say things or convey feelings that can hurt a child deeply. Common examples include making the child feel unwanted, perhaps by stating or implying that life would be easier without them if they were never born. A parent may tell a child, "I wish you were never born," ridiculing or belittling a child, such as saying "you're stupid," threatening the child with harsh punishment, or even death and continuous verbal abuse. As I mentioned previously, psychological emotional abuse is more subtle, which means it may be less likely for people to intervene or help out, or it may be harder to even spot out. So now I would like to take the time to talk to you about the symptoms of psychological abuse. America's Mental Health Channel says that some of these symptoms may include difficulties in school, eating disorders resulting in weight loss or poor weight gain, emotional issues such as low self-esteem, depression and anxiety, rebellious behavior, sleep disorders, and vague physical complaints. There are also many warning signs, like when a child is excessively withdrawn, fearful or anxious about doing something wrong, shows extremes in behavior, doesn't seem to be attached to the parent or caregiver, acts either inappropriately with an adult taking care of other children or inappropriately infantile, like rocking, thumb sucking, throwing tantrums. In this slide, it's talking about the lack of trust and relationship difficulties. If you can't trust your parents, who can you trust? The child may feel like they'll never be able to make a relationship with anyone else because they feel like they can't trust anyone. It's maybe hard to maintain relationships due to fear of being controlled or abused. And also, it can lead to unhealthy relationships because the child or adult was never around a good relationship, so they don't know exactly what a healthy, good, stable relationship is. This slide talks about the core feelings of being worthless or damaged. If you've ever been told that you're not good enough over and over, it can affect you for life, especially when you're trying to get a job, or they may feel like they're not good enough for it. They may feel like they're not good enough to get a higher education, and that they're just not good enough for anything. This one's about trouble regulating emotions. Abused children act out. They act out in school. They can act out of nowhere, even to people that may not even deserve it. They may say something that hurt their feelings, but they didn't intentionally do it, and they may just throw a tantrum, or they may turn to alcohol or drugs to numb the feeling and the pain of depression. So far we have already discussed what psychological abuse and how to spot it out, and I just talked to you about where the emotional abuse came to play. You see, all types of child abuse and neglect leave lasting scars, but emotional scarring has long-lasting effects throughout life, damaging a child's sense of self, ability to have healthy relationships, and ability to function at home, at work, and at school. In conclusion, psychological emotional abuse can affect a child for life. But with treatment, many children and parents can be reunited as a family. The long-term outcome depends on the severity of abuse, how long a child was abused, the success of psychotherapy, and how well parenting classes worked. In this slide, I put the website for Prevent Child Abuse America. There are many supports available, and you can also contact your county mental health association, the local United Way, or county social services for programs in your community. Other resources could be like anger management, parenting classes, and therapy and drug treatment or alcohol treatment if needed. I hope you all learned a lot and liked learning about this as much as I did. Is there any questions?
No.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.